Hey, how y'all doing today, family? Like sitting here with Mr. Michael Robinson, one of our Family Springs members, longtime members too. Definitely always glad to have you and supporting, brother. Mr. Mike Robinson has some very, I think, great experiences to share with you guys based on what he has been through. And I believe that the experiences that the Lord puts in our life it's meant for us to be shared.
Agreed.
Right? And I think that that's how we grow. We learn more so by experiences, and we have to be willing to talk about them a lot of times. The information that is given out, we have no connection, we have no relationship to that information.
I agree.
So I think the closer we are to the source, the closer we are to the information, I think it gives us a better rooted system to build off of.
Right.
And so we're going to be talking a lot about hydration, water, the importance of energy drinks. I know a lot of athletes might use a long-term athlete, right, for many of years.
I was indeed.
Would you care to share a little bit of that?
Yeah, I mean, first and foremost, man, it's a pleasure to be sitting down with you, man. I mean, you've been supplying my family with high-quality H2O for quite some time, man, so it's a blessing to sit down with you. I grew up, like most kids, man, in the inner city, grew up playing ball. Anything we could do to get outside and play, that's what we did. And so that went from obviously playing ball in the local community, basketball, football, pickup games and stuff like that, to playing at school level. And I excelled at the school level, so I played, high competitive high school football, went on to college, played in the military, football, basketball, track and field, you name it, we did it. And then so a transition from a very active sports life into full-time military. So serving in the Navy with the Marine Corps, very active. If anybody's familiar with the Marines, we did a lot of humping, carrying the big packs, taking 25-mile force marches, all that stuff. And so taking care of our body, you would think at a young age would have been a no-brainer, for the coaches and the things that we were dealing with at that age at competitive sports. But sadly, it wasn't, man. It was just, we played ball, and obviously, you had water that was there, but you also had Gatorade, and as a young man, you're going for the Gatorade.
The option, right? Yeah, that option.
Right.
Yeah.
So water's not the go-to, right? Like water's what, in my mind, water's what you drink when you have nothing else to drink, right? And so the result of that, as a 38-year-old man now, having served 8 years in the military, got out in 2009, I separated from the military, and they told me I had a kidney disorder. And I didn't understand at 25, what kind of kidney disorder could you have, right? And so we didn't think much of it, just, okay, we're just gonna monitor this, we're gonna keep an eye on it. Well, here we are, 11 years later, and I'm in stage 5 kidney failure. I am on a transplant list for a kidney transplant. God has been good to me, he's been faithful to me. But in hindsight, there was so much I should have been doing, right, to take care of my health when it comes to hydration. As a competitive athlete, as a active duty military guy who worked in the medical field, and I got a handle on it when I was in my mid-20s, approaching the 30s, but it was too late then. I neglected my body for far too long, And you talked about sports drinks, and that's the sports drinks is the easy side of it. Like when you a gym rat, like a lot of us was, you talking about compounding the effects of not drinking enough water with the added supplements.
Right. So they give you all these supplements to kind of, to kind of aid you and keep you going.
Right.
And then your body is steadily crying for water because there's no substitute for water.
Right.
There is no substitute. I don't care how much, Gatorade or anything else that they call high quality and electrolytes and all that. It's too much of the sugary content that takes away. And sugar does not dissolve the same way salts do in fluid.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? Like that's a completely different breakdown.
Right.
So your body does not react the same way. So,
No. And nobody was telling you that as a
right,
young man.
right.
And to be quite honest with you, I'm not saying it was somebody's responsibility to inform me, but at the same time, I'm
gonna say, as a young man and playing athletic at a high level, it is somebody,
Well,
because
you're right.
Especially
as a
even in the
teenager
military.
and coming
Yes,
up,
right.
and especially as a young man coming out of the world into the military, to a certain extent, you're right. But I was also a knucklehead, and I could have done better. You know what I'm
Okay,
saying?
right.
So one of the things I always do, like behind the camera, is a great young man who's an athlete who I'm helping raise, and he's very important to me.
Right.
But he'll tell you, he doesn't drink. Like if he drinks a Gatorade, he cannot have anything else to drink until he's drunk twice of the equivalent of that Gatorade in water, right?
Superb.
And so that's something that we need to teach our kids. He's an athlete, he plays multiple sports. I want him to play multiple sports. I want him to enjoy himself, but I want him to do it safely, right? And I wish I had somebody in my life then that was explaining that stuff to me. Then, I mean, now if you're into sports, you see like nutrition is a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
Like they talk about nutrition, like LeBron James, all these guys talk about nutrition all the time. But that wasn't a trend,
Right.
In the early 90s when
Right.
we was balling. Like
Right.
it was go
Drink
out there.
Gatorade.
That's
Yeah,
exactly
yeah,
right.
yeah,
It was Gatorade or Powerade or any aid but water.
Right.
And so
Leave you for first aid.
absolutely
At
right.
that
So
point.
water, the importance of it is, I mean, I can't even adequately explain if I knew now what I knew then. You know what I'm saying? I wouldn't be in the medical condition that I currently am in. And I know most people will look at me, and I'm carrying a little bit of weight now, but most people will look at me and say, well, he doesn't look like he's, having too much of my lower extremities, my legs and stuff swell up every day, bro. Like I'm dealing with pain every single day, gout attacks, inflammation, all the stuff that when you trace it all back, I should have just hydrated more to push some of that stuff out of my kidneys, man.
And I know you're a spiritual man
Absolutely.
as well too.
Absolutely.
So, and I use the term which I don't take lightly. In a sense, but I said great and experience, because those experiences that you, as troublesome as they are, you're going to be able to help so many people.
Right.
Sometimes the Lord's not going to put you through something that you're not able and willing
Facts.
to get you through.
not gonna take you
so
to it,
somebody
it can't
else,
take you through
right,
it, right.
right. So, that's kind of, I like to try to find a positive silver lining
Absolutely.
in everything that we do, and I
Right.
think I appreciate you sharing your story,
For sure.
exactly, and your experiences, because it's so important for me. One of the things, I don't see those athletes endorsing water like they'll do sneakers. I don't see it endorsing it like they do the Gatorades
No doubt.
and everything else. Like, it's not like, yo, drink this water. Water endorsements, they don't go out and try to get those people and push that.
Nah.
I think the only person I've really heard that talks about it is Tom Brady.
Yeah.
They talk about his hydration effects, what I
Right.
mean, and how long he's able to play football, and I know it's in the book and with his personal trainer.
Right.
You know what I mean? But outside of that, like, you don't hear people push that message, and that should be mainly pushed because I think it takes away from the medical aspects and the pharmaceutical companies, because now you're getting
Now
that stuff.
you touching money now.
Right, yeah, you see what I'm saying? Like, they might not even want this.
You touching somebody's pockets. You know what I mean?
Right.
And that's the truth of the matter, is like you hit on a lot of important stuff there. Like, number one, it's not marketed on that level because it's not a big money maker like the sugary contents are. Like, there are people who sit in factories and determine what the addiction level of sugar is, so they know how much to put in to get you addicted to their product.
And the reason why they play that, that's why it's the Food and Drug Administration, right? Because they know our body feeds off of glucose.
Absolutely.
Your brain operates off of glucose.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? The carbohydrates, the starch, all that stuff is broken down,
It's all sugars.
so it needs it,
Yep.
and it knows it has a craving for it.
Right.
So they either make it in different types of fructose and soup. They put all
It's
these
in
different
there,
types
right.
of sugars
It's in there.
in there to make you craving and want,
Yeah.
and it's tricking your body.
Yep.
Because it's giving you false reality. It's false energy.
Right.
You know what I mean? And
It's just these high highs, but when you crash, you crash,
you
right?
crash.
It's just like, I remember, like, because going through college, it's the same thing. Like, you you got to cram for a test, right?
Uh-huh.
So you eat everything you can get your hands on.
Right,
but the moment you're done, it's like, ooh. What's the same thing with your body every single day? And he's Malachi's 12, right? And we have a habit now where when we go grocery shopping, we go grocery shopping together. I'll walk down the aisle and he'll say, I want this. But he knows that before he even asks me for it, he has to turn the box and see how much sodium is in it. Like he already knows, like
accountability.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
He goes, he says, he'll turn it, and now it's to the point where I don't tell him, no, you can't have that. He'll look at it and say, nah, I can't eat this. It's too much sodium, it's too much sugar, it's too much.
Smart young man.
And we need to teach our kids that.
Right.
Because I remember what got me. I was in my mid-20s. I was just about to get out of the military, and I had been working in the medical field for years. And I had this guy, and I won't name him, but he was a great guy. And he said, look, in order for you to provide adequate medical care to somebody, you have to know what you're doing to them, how it makes you feel. That's what will make you make a better decision, right? And so he brought us all in. There was a bunch of us corpsmen. He brought us all in, and he gave us options. He says, you have 1 hour to drink 2 liters of a substance. You can choose 2 liters of Gatorade. You can choose 2 liters of water. You can choose 2 liters of water with electrolyte salts put into it. And I chose the water, just water. And a couple of my friends, most of my friends chose the Gatorade. Okay, 1 hour pounding, 2-liter bottles of this stuff in an hour. They had, and I'm not trying to be gross, they had massive uncontrolled diarrhea from drinking the Gatorade because they flooded their body with the electrolytes. And so at some point your body's like, too much. Too much, I gotta flood. And so I gotta get it out. And so that's what happens when you consume too much of the Gatorade, right? So with water, with just the water, I flushed all the electrolytes out of my body. And so he was teaching us balance. I didn't drink, and I had only had a drink to the point of tipsiness, like once or twice in my entire life. But I felt worse just drinking those 2 liters of water in an hour than I'd ever felt ever. Like just flushed everything out. I had to literally lick a handful of salt to get myself some kind of back coherent. And the only reason I tell you that story now is because the importance of life is balance.
Absolutely.
The importance of life in every aspect of life is balance.
I hear that, family.
And so
balance.
You can't just be. I remember like when Malachi and I first started working together. He has a room in my house, so he pretty much lives here now. So, but he's a Gatorade kid. You know what I mean? Like we go and we get the 24-pack of Gatorade, and I'm like, the little miniatures. He was killing like 6 of them things. I'm like, no, that's not. So you have to teach. He's a child, but you have to teach yourself as an adult balance, right? And we don't consider not just what we're drinking, but what we're eating. You know what I'm saying? Like all of the intake, our bodies are, and I say this all the time, our bodies are the most sophisticated things ever created.
Absolutely.
The most sophisticated thing ever created. Like if I ask people this question, they say, oh, the smartest thing ever created is the computer that does this for NASA. No, a human mind created that computer.
Right, because they take the structure from the inside of your body and make everything around you.
Exactly right.
Everything around you.
Everything is built off the human design.
Absolutely.
Right, that's how we know that we have a creator. It's not, 2 rocks didn't slam together and create all this complexity, right? So we're just copying what God's done. Well, we were made from the dust of the earth. Right? And everything that grows from the earth needs water.
And you know what? It's great. I love hearing you saying that, right, Mike? Because, I use that the same, whether, you're spiritual, what level of spirituality you are.
Right.
If you take it, just like what you said, if you put dirt together, it is not going to form unless you add water to it.
You have to.
You have to
have water.
You can go to the beach and try to make a sandcastle all you want, but until you put that water in there,
mud on it.
you are not going to have it all together. And I'm like, when the Lord put us together, He did not design us from the outside in. He designed you from the inside out.
Right.
So understand that everything that you are made up of the earth and the elements, is within your intestines.
Right.
You know what I mean? So you can't be fearful of those things. That is the connectivity between the inside and the outside world, because the inside has no relationship to the outside unless it goes through your 5 senses and what you eat.
Right.
And water passes through every plane of existence.
Absolutely.
Every single plane of existence.
I really do, wish that I was having these conversations when I was younger. Now, I don't have any regrets in life. I've had an absolutely blessed, I can't, like, to come from where I come from to be where I am today. I'm sitting in our beautiful backyard.
Yes.
Indeed. Beautiful breeze. The Lord has made a gorgeous day. Sitting with some friends and all this. I got nothing to complain about. But you on a transplant list. Even that has been an educational process for me. You know what I'm saying? Like, right. I've done a lot. I've accomplished a lot, and I thank God for it. But everything is learning, like you say. Everything. It's only 2 ways to get experience. Either you do it yourself, or you listen to somebody who's done it, right, and you gain from.
And that's how we got here, because we had a conversation coming through, dropping the water off, right? and you gave me some. And this is how the Lord works, right, family? Because I'm actually doing research on kidneys and dissecting them and understanding how. The balance, how it, because I always talk about balance, family. So right. I'm always interested in how does the body balances itself, and the kidney controls that pH balance.
Yes, it does.
And then, I'm sitting there going through it, and then I have a conversation with you, and then you start telling me this, and then you was breaking down aspects of it, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm learning, and it just connected. It's just water, once again, using its ability to connect.
Yeah.
And that's what I want to use. That's what I want to use this platform for. And that's what Family Springs is really all about. We're more than water. And that connection brought us together. And then it's going to be able to bring and help other people, like the young man that you're helping here. Right. And then so many other people that's going to be able to sit here and watch this.
It's a community thing, though. I mean, and that's why it works. I mean, water is very fluid. It moves. You can't contain it. It's one of the most powerful things on the planet, right, man. Just like the earth is majority water, our bodies majority water, and those are things that we need to figure out, man. Is we rob ourselves of basic nutritional, and I'm talking to our community, right? Yeah. Especially in the Black community, man.
Right.
Like, cause I cannot tell you, growing up, I don't think I ever opened my fridge and saw a jug of water in my fridge. Like, it was always OJ, purple drink,
Sunny D,
right. It was always something to drink,
right.
But water wasn't that something. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's cool, but you have to have balance. And so from a kid, I mean, literally once when that doctor told me, he said, Mr. Robinson, your kidneys are failing, and I'm 20 something. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, what do you mean my kidneys are failing? I feel great. I just bench press 330. Tell me my kidneys are failing.
Right.
He's like, yeah, but he says, even the weight is putting a strain on your kidneys. He says, well, let me tell you why. He says, how much water do you drink? That's the first question the nephrologist asked me. How much water do you drink a day? Do you understand that I'm having life-altering surgery because I didn't drink enough water?
And use the word nephrologist, right?
Think about that.
Something should be readily available.
So basic, right?
Readily available.
So basic. Turn the tap on. Get a jug, whatever. However, I don't turn the tap on, but you get what I'm saying. Like, drink water. Something that should be necessary for life.
Right. Yeah, right.
Kidney replacement. 2 kidneys gone. You're talking about years of compounded effects on top of, and I really want to slow down for a minute. So you're talking about ripping and running outside as a kid, day in and day out, maybe a glass of water here and there, right? Everything else is some kind of juice, some kind of high fructose something. All that stuff has sodium in it, everything. Not counting the massive amounts of sodium that I was intaking as a child, eating these processed foods, right? Fries and burgers and burritos, all this stuff that your body is screaming for water to push this stuff through your system.
Because that's how it balances.
Absolutely. Right? So now you get to high school and you want to be bigger, faster, stronger. So now you're taking protein shakes. and instead of making it with
Putting it
water,
with-
you
yeah.
make that with milk, right?
Right.
And so now you're trying to put on weight, you're trying to bulk up for football, you're trying to cut down for basketball, you're trying to speed up for track. And so your body's going through all these fluid changes, and still water is being neglected, right? Then you get to the point where you're in the military and you're in Iraq, couple tours to Iraq, one of the hottest places on the planet.
Heat.
Lack of water there. You got to train to build up for that, all of that lack of water. And the whole time, constantly eating way more than 2,000 milligrams of sodium a day. Way more. If you eat one burger, you already half of what you're supposed to eat for sodium in a day, right? Compound all of the what you're putting in, because water does what? I mean, salt does what to water?
Yeah, it draws it.
Draws it. So now what you're eating is pulling whatever water you have in your body towards it, and that's going out of the body, but you're not replacing it, right? And so you're walking around 90% of the time dehydrated, and you wonder why people who look like us have high blood pressure.
Right.
Now we're talking about it, right?
Yeah.
Because when you're eating these highly processed foods,
right,
when you're eating these foods that are not grown, they're not fresh produce, and not any of that stuff that's coming directly from the ground, that is full of water, that's full of all this stuff. And then we get this culture shaming stuff, right? Oh, you just want watermelon. Well, why do you think black people eat watermelon
Oh
so much?
man, you tried it.
serious.
Man, you speak about language.
I'm serious.
Reverse psychology.
It is. It's culture shaming.
Yeah, right.
But there was a reason why it became a favorite.
Right.
Because growing up in America, we know the history of America. We know that what we call soul food was really the leftovers that other people weren't going to eat.
Right.
And that stuff was high in fat, high in sodium. And so we were looking for plants and vegetables like collard greens, turnip greens, mustard greens,
Right.
Watermelon, all the squashes and stuff to replace that fluid that we were pushing out with the meats and all the stuff that we were eating that we had to preserve with salt because we didn't get a whole lot. But when you turn that into cultural, oh, this is how we eat on a daily basis, and we're still not drinking water.
And you touched on something that, because we use a lot of salt.
Yes,
when
we do.
And the reason, and understand this, family, salt is good for you.
It is.
You know what I mean? Because it has a balancing effect for the body, and it draws, like you said, it draws water. So understand that your body goes through diffusion.
Yep.
Right? And part of that diffusion is having those alkaline salts. Now you can get those potassiums and all that stuff from your fruits and vegetables, which
Absolutely.
you said things that have high water content.
Right.
Because potassium holds water.
Yep.
You know, magnesium holds water.
Absolutely.
So you can use things like Celtic salt and those different types of things. So we were given the wrong types of salt,
Yes,
that
we were.
unrefined salt, and we were
In
using
abundance.
it right in abundance, because
right.
we knew that we needed salt.
Right.
I mean, you know, the whole word salary comes from salt. Right, so you know, what I mean, we would get paid wages in Africa through.
Still to this day,
salt.
salt is
Right.
very valuable
Right,
in other parts
it's
of the country.
very- right.
Use it for currency everywhere.
Right. So the importance of it, you know, is so big, but the fact that you don't have the proper hydration that goes
Balance.
with
That's
it,
exactly right.
it crushes everything, and then it makes
It's just-
salt the whole bad guy on its own.
And then you're trying to remove it. Oh my God! Like you just so that we continue. So what happens is the lack of information or the information that's given is you're eating too much salt, and then you subtract all salt from your diet,
Right.
And that throws the balance.
Now
off.
that throws
right. But then when you don't have water to balance the salt that you do have coming in, that throws the balance off. So the key word again is balance.
Back to the balance.
It's back to balance. You have to know what you're eating.
Yep.
And more importantly, you have to know what your kids are eating. That, because I'm telling you, our kids will eat whatever we put in front of them.
Absolutely.
And it's nothing worse than having a diet that's harmful to your children become their normal. That's the scariest thing, to become their normal. And I'm proud of him that when he looks at something, like the other day we're walking in and he was like, oh, you know, I really like the Chick-fil-A chicken sandwiches. Can't nobody knock Chick-fil-A chicken sandwiches.
What? Yeah, they got two lines wrapped around buildings.
Every
everywhere.
day.
Everywhere.
Except Sunday.
All day, you're right, exactly.
But he walked up and he was like, look, I can't have these chicken nuggets anymore because they have X amount of salt in them. And if I have that for breakfast, then most of my sodium intake for the day
Done.
is gone. And I'm like, well done. So now we have fresh fruit, eggs
Build up.
for breakfast. You know what I mean? So
Right.
decrease sodium, and then later on, if you want to have something, you have it. But we got to have that balance, and if we teach them, people are like, oh, I'm not getting into all of that. It's either that, or you're going to help them get to a grave too early. And that's the bottom line. There's no two ways around it.
Oh yeah.
38 years old, kidney failure, and before this year's out, I'll have a kidney transplant surgery.
Bless.
38. I mean, I'm blessed to have that, but at 38.
Yeah, 38, right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, every time I walk into like a dialysis clinic, and I'm not on dialysis, but when I walk in and they have to test me to see where I'm at with my creatinine levels and all that stuff, the doctor always says, "Are you in the right clinic? Because I'm too young to be here." Right. But and people say it can't be that simple. You just talking about drinking water. It's that simple. It's
See, and this is how they get, because you know we talked about the culture, and you look at what's in our environment and our constant. You got the Chinese foods.
Oh, no doubt.
You know, you got the McDonald's.
Oh my God.
You got all the different things that are going to be packed with that sodium, and understanding that a cell operates off of its environment.
Right.
We are cells, so. If all you're putting is high sodium things, you are drawing us and you're dehydrating us, and then you're going to feed us the prescription drugs.
Absolutely.
Off of dehydration, and then that little bit of kick you feel might be the water that you took with that pill.
Right. And
it might be the water that you took with that pill.
And that's the truth. Like we compound the issue, and we make our health is making other people rich. I'm just being like for real. Like our health, our lack of good health is making other people rich, and you can always, I always tell my wife, like, you can tell, like, if we go to a new city, you can tell what side of the city you're on by what you're around, right? You drive through an area and you start seeing Popeyes, Wendy's, Burger King.
Right.
You know you on our side of the town. I'm just
in abundance. Too.
Right. I'm not.
Maybe right
I'm just
next
being
to
for
each
real,
other.
right?
Yeah, that's a fact.
But if you pay attention. If you drive right out my neighborhood right here, go down the street, you're gonna pass Wendy's, Taco Bell, Popeyes, PF Chang, not PF Chang, Rallies, all of that stuff is right there. Pan Express is what I meant. All of it's right there, right?
Right.
Loaded with sodium. Go 2 blocks past that stuff, and you're gonna find 3 dialysis clinics. I'm not joking. I'm on the same street.
Okay. Yeah.
On the same street, you're gonna pass DaVita. You're going to pass all these dialysis clinics, because why? Because this stuff is leading you right down the street to this stuff.
And that's just great. I'm going to say, I hate the great marketing, because you're going to put yourself in the best situation for you to obtain the, you know what I mean?
And all you have to do is find out where these stores are and put a dialysis clinic there, because the people who are eating this will need this
eventually.
They will need this.
Right.
But when you drive to wealthier sides of town, and you're driving past Trader Joe's, Panera Bread, you're going all this stuff that has clean food in it. Let me know when you find a dialysis clinic over there. Tell me when
you're hitting on something.
Tell me when you find one of those. I'm being for real.
I've never even realized that.
Let me know when you drive through a city and you start seeing certain restaurants. Guarantee you start seeing certain businesses that serve that same community. But when you drive through a different community and you start seeing high-scale restaurants, cleaner food, where they focus on what they put in the food, where they want to prove to you that the food is healthy, where they're hitting on, hey, here are your healthy options on the menu. When you see those places, you don't see DaVita over there with kidney transplant, dialysis clinics, and you don't see all that stuff. Why? Because you see people out walking, you see people out eating healthy.
They know they're not going to want that.
Nope.
Yeah, they're going to give you what you want.
That's right.
Or what you think that you want anyway.
And it's time for us to, like, there's a big movement in the black community right now where we're saying, we want to be treated equal, we want to be treated fairly. Well, it can't just be what people call us. It can't just be what people, if they'll hire us into certain roles. You have to have equality in your health too. We
got to take it back.
Absolutely.
We got to take it back. And part of us taking that back is taking accountability for ourselves.
Absolutely,
because each one of us are made a little bit different than the next. So the same requirements, you know what I mean? You might be like, well, I drink all the Gatorade, I did all the things that Mike did, and
I'm fine.
And I'm fine.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, all right, that's good for you. But what are your other issues? You see what I'm saying? Because acidity builds up in different